And I still think SK has the potential.
Right.
I still think they are going to have a surge. I don't think a single single rotation of a player is what's going to give them that.
Right, I think that's very valiant. I was meaning it more in a sense that is he going to be an upgrade on the team? That was basically at the base level because Adam was a good fit for the team. He departed. He went to Obey. He's got his role in Obey. They brought in Evil Waffle for one game, and I guess the fit just wasn't right. They managed to replace him with Nyx, and Nyx was always a promising up and coming young player. He just turned 18 not too long ago. He competed on a variety of notable amateur teams, never was able to compete in Challenger League because of his age, and completely bypassed Challenger League to vault into Pro League, which is a lot of expectations, I think, to put on somebody right off the hop. And we'll see how he can do at that level, or how he does at that level. We saw yesterday he had a bit of a slower start. We'll see if today is any better. And Border is actually going to be our map. So some pretty decent diversity here when we have Consulate, Villa, and now Border between these teams. Border is a map that both of these teams are very good at. It's one of Evil Genius's best maps, and SK Gaming typically does well on it too.
I have to say that this is a one-ban phase for EG. And the hilarious thing about that is they also were the ones to ban out Villa. Let's take a look at the community vote, see who you guys think are going to win this match. And I'm sure that's going to go the opposite direct.
Interesting result.
So I'm pretty sure
result. We broke it. We broke the vote.
So,
it's 87 to 13% in favor of Evil Genius. You broke the poll, chat. You broke it, but it's 87% to 13%. So that is a very lopsided number. Now, SK is the only team in the region that hasn't gotten a single point yet because Obey was able to secure a point earlier. The poll is still broken. So 87% for Evil Geniuses, 13% for SK. There you go. It's filled in. SK is the only team without a point in the entire region right now, currently sitting in last place. Now, in the first week, SK did play Border against Rogue. It was a 6-4 result, so it was pretty close, but it relied on SK pulling out its tried and true composition of like Glaz, Blitz, Dokkaebi, etc., which is a strategy that works once or twice, but you can't use every single time.
Right, and on that note, as I was talking about earlier, Evil Geniuses is probably won that ban phase throughout outright, in my opinion. Again, Border is a map that they're well versed on, and I mean, both teams are well versed on it. But I think EG is going to have a slight edge here. Anyway, all that said, we do have the match ready, so we are going to load in shortly to Border, the one and only match, or only a map in this match, rather. EG going to be starting on attack, and we will have SK starting on defense. So probably an armory hold to begin, but before that, we have the ban phase, of course. SK with the first ban. They get to go with an attacker. Probably not going to be Glaz. That's my guess. I mean, I'm guessing SK is hoping for as much smoke play as possible, given that that's a strategy that they choose to employ. I would speculate that EG will try to stop that somewhat with maybe a Dokkaebi ban, a Glaz ban, something in that realm, maybe a Lion. No, a Zofia. Way off. Lots of disruption banned out from Zofia, and actually could play into the same sorts of mentality, I guess. But I would have expected something like a Glaz, to be honest. Straight up.
I was going to say Zofia is an important operator for SK Gaming, but I would actually argue that she's far more important for Evil Geniuses, with the fact that NVK has been playing a ton of Zofia over the last little while. They will add to it with Jaeger being taken off of the board. Border is one of Jaeger's strongest maps. It's not a surprise to see him removed and taken out of play, but once again, Jaeger being a very strong operator for Evil Geniuses, and now you lose a Mira as well. This is no Mira and no Thermite. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you say fun. I say it's going to be interesting to see two teams so completely debilitated. I mean, you're looking at a not even fangless, but a toothless defense without a Mira or a Jaeger. The way you have to play that is absolutely crazy, because you've just effectively done away with all potential hard anchor positions, and that nades will directly counter any of those. They cannot be stopped, and except for, of course, by bandit batteries. And then on top of that, you've got no mirror windows, which you can't fight back from those anchor positions. Then over on attack, no thermite means that all of the attack strategies you're going to see are going to be roundabout as all heck. No direct line, say, let's push armory wall. And when we do see that, they're going to be met with middling success because you're dealing with a situation where you can only open up a crouch hole at the most and then one other alternative angle, which is just not a lot to work with. So, I don't know. This ban phase has rendered Border, in my opinion, kind of a team deathmatch map.
It's definitely going to be let's kill them all as quickly as we can and not really worry about total and site-wide utility.
And that makes for some pretty
5 seconds left.
interesting is the word I'm going to use. Viewing.
Yeah, I definitely think interesting is a way to go. There's a chance for a lot of sloppiness as well because you'll have to take fights more than you'll have to, be able to open everything up. And instead of putting NVK on the Zofia, they're going to unleash him onto the Ash. And EG is going to set a very quick tempo as 15 seconds. They're already going to start to apply some pressure to CCTV. They'll see the barbed wire at the doorway and instead go up and repel to the top of the roof. As you can see, both Nyx and Hot and Cold, 2 family members, currently inside as some goo mines will get tossed out and they'll be spotted immediately and taken care of. One thing for me that was worrisome if I was SK is that Nyx did have 2 pretty brutal opening deaths as an Echo player. Not only should your Echo not be your opening death, but if you're going to have an opening death, it shouldn't be an Echo because he's so valuable in the final minute of play with those 4 bursts, potentially on the Yokai drones, while also being able to do some mid-round scouting.
Yeah, definitely going to help out a lot when you've got those drifty zooms. And Evil Geniuses just trying to collapse onto CCTV right now. And they're going to gather a lot of information thanks to the IQ. And that will give them good control. But they haven't fully established themselves here. You can see SK still has a player in the CCTV shelving area, and that's Echo, of course, Nyx. Really the probably worst, I would say, operator to solo this situation. He's not, I don't think, completely by himself. He does have another defensive operator. In fact, Mint is in the hallway, and he's able to get a double kill from the top of main lobby stairs. This setup from SK was a complete bait and switch for EG, and EG fell straight into it. NVK has been downed, whether or not SK know about it, and it's going to delay EG even more because they're going to have to pick up NVK, which will take, from this position, and another repel from BC, probably a solid 20 seconds by itself.
So essentially you've only got 2 mobile operators in your Hibana as well as your Lion, and they're just going to get there in the nick of time as NVK was very close to bleeding out, but will allow Necrox as the sole man in to try to work his way up. He gets towards the L stage, and a couple shots from Mint will work in towards that corner, which is often referred to as L or maybe 90 underneath the default cam. Hot and Cold is still positioned inside of CCTV. They have not been able to get him off. Pojo takes out what was left of NVK, and Lion's final gadget will freeze everybody in place. Necrox looking through the beepers. He'll work his way into Armory, but Jarvis gets a kill, and it's all up to BC. This has been a great round from SK, and Jarvis will pick up his second. The Valkyrie just sitting at metal detectors or beepers, and SK will take the lead after round 1.
Really like that defense from SK. It fell apart for EG as soon as the frag started coming in, as is per usual, of course. But the way that it came in, because EG fell straight into a trap.
Right.
Clearly, their strategy was, oh, okay, we're defending customs. Let's take CCTV. And the problem with taking CCTV directly is that it's really hard to push in through those solid 90-degree angles on the CCTV door and the cafeteria door and the CCTV window. And especially when you've got players in using angles that have been opened up into the hallway on SK, and then even layering onto that, you've got hold onto the armory. I mean, it's a basic customs defense from SK. The setup was not too dissimilar to many we've seen before. but EG just not doing their due diligence before pushing. It's really kind of that simple.
Attackers need to locate and
I think that
defuse as
they
many
expected
bombs as they
Canadian
can.
to possibly win that fight, and then they would be able to push up into CCTV without worrying about a crossfire, but they'd open the whole wall up, and Mint was there to just gobble them up. Also to note, it was a completely flawless round. Not a single member of SK was lost. It looked for a couple moments there like Nyx was in a no-win situation, but he was able to drop after the Lion went off, and then EG's aggression just couldn't catch him. It was almost like a push-pull sort of defense where it's like you were able to rope him right in and then dispatch him after that. So interestingly enough, we see a Frost being brought out from hot and cold. This was something that Rogue actually did against SK Gaming when they played on Border. You had Eclipse playing the Frost, basically put in a position where you make it very difficult to engage the Frost. It was something that I asked Ranger in the interview. Basically, it was just summed up as long as he can have somebody to help him hold his position, it's very difficult to get in there because you know there are those Frost traps.
Yeah, the Frost traps are often belittled by many people and dismissed as, I mean, a giant mat that you can just shoot and deny any use whatsoever. But the honest truth is that you have to shoot them. It takes you, if you want to push in through a window that has a frost trap on it, you have to deal with it. It's a process. It's a step you have to commit yourself to. If you're not going to shoot them, you have to use some kind of utility, you know, an explosive. It all doesn't really matter. I mean, it's the same sort of thing as like a castle barricade. Of course, you know, castle useful in different ways, but it's utility that must be used. It's processing power, you know, your own brain that you have to allocate, and it's thought that must be applied. So, yeah, Frost can be useful. I'm not saying she's the most useful operator, but she can be in certain situations, and I think holding CCTV, definitely one of them.
It was also a strategy used against Evil Geniuses by Millennium, where essentially Millennium's strategy seemed to be, we'll waste a lot of time and then force them to commit. And it was, I believe it was Canadian who hopped in a window and got picked up. A frag grenade from Young, great timing. Mint is no more as he's frozen in place as well by that EE1D of the Lion. Using IP's gadget, Evil Geniuses are able to spot the Yokai drone and will finally take it down as Young manages to smash his head into the electrified wall. NVK will light up hot and cold as that Frost tries to take a very long engagement all the way down that east hallway, and they don't find enough to get either of them a kill.
That was a good nade from Young. That shows excellent game sense. Young, of course, played exceptionally yesterday and seems to be carrying that forward into today. We'll see how much of that exactly. Pojo Man peeking onto the north balcony, able to catch Young as he crawls up the ladder, completely defenseless. Can't fight when you're climbing in Rainbow Six. SK just holding on and waiting. Something interesting here is EG are being really slow. Not very characteristic of EG, especially considering they have already control over most of B bomb site. We still have a defender in deep B, but everything close B is potentially a plant. Is that a bear trap? Yes, in fact, a bear trap from MVK. Nyx will also get Canadian, and BC able to refrag, but Houghton has got to be possibly in a position to finish off MVK. Regardless, Necrox and BC probably won't be able to pick him up, so it's basically a 2v3 as the last two attackers are on this north balcony, and they're just pushing their way in. Next, Nyx is going to get one, and he has the ability to re-peek and get another, but he's choosing to play conservatively. I like this smart play here, just nice and slow and safe. Houghton will finish off BC as he pushes in, and also gets that trap kill finally on NVK in CCTV. So I have to say, a major oversight by NVK, not checking CCTV entirely for those mats, and because he was downed, the attack lost one of its dimensions and forced those last two attackers on the balcony, on that northeast balcony, in a really bad spot.
The whole point of, I think, that setup from SK was the same thing that we saw out of both Rogue and Millennium, is you just waste a lot of time where they don't really have the opportunity or luxury to drone things out. They don't have the chance to be able to figure out where those frost traps are, especially in what is not a necessarily obscure spot. That's a pretty common vault spot that NVK found himself in. Possibly could have even gone to shoot them with a hipfire, but there was two of them there. So even if he got one, he would have had to get very lucky onto the second one. But I'm really impressed with the way that SK seems to be frustrating Evil Geniuses. EG is having a hard time being able to pressure the site. You saw early on the IQ was able to dispatch both of the yokai drones from Nyx. That was a huge amount of utility that was lost from the defenders, and would have allowed them to get in and clamp down on the site, possibly taking control with really only having to worry about Pojo Man's smokes. But they couldn't pull it off. There's something about EG, once they get right into the main areas outside of sites, they just can't seem to find their footing, and SK has been able to eat them alive in those positions.
You can see 2 team aces from SK there. Nice and even scoreboard for them. Meanwhile, BC and Young, the only players for Evil Geniuses to get a kill so far through 2 rounds. It has thus far been absolute domination, and still time to change that, but every round really does count in this best of 1. So, Shotgun Echo. Interesting that we're seeing that rotation from Nyx, given how successful he was with the MP5 SD in the previous round. Now, obviously, you do need to open up this B ceiling so that you can hold from above, but you know, there's other options. You don't have to commit yourself to the Echo Shotgun. Suppose you can make it work, though. You do have that Bearing 9, of course.
Yeah, the Bearing 9 is right now. It's in a pretty good place. We'll see. It's very strong, and of course, a lot of Echoes will use it as a potential
it's a primary weapon.
But the MP5 that he uses, the only real downside is how low that damage is, especially at long range, because the damage drop off with the built-in suppressor. There's no way for you to make it unsuppressed, so you're always going to be dealing with the fact that it's low damage. BC running a breach charge here as they can begin their push. Jarvis is going to be in a real big world of hurt. He's frozen in place, waiting to see if he can go for a possible kill here, as they know they've got him pinned in a corner. As Vigil, he has a lot going for him, but he is in a definite world of hurt. He'll pop up and BC is able to take his head off. Great friends, now adversaries, and a rivalry between the two of them as Evil Geniuses will at least give themselves some breathing room with Mint playing up top, watching through the opening towards the office window, but there's nobody that's going to be there to take any bullets.
Jarvis didn't play that window situation too well. Detected by the E1D was really when he was to meet his demise. Young has been doing some great work at dealing with those yokai drones, but he's going to have to do more than that. EG need to get more kills. And I know it's, you know, kind of basic. Yeah, you can kill all the enemies, you win the round. Did you know about that? But at the same time, like we talked about, they haven't gotten much. There's no lethality right now. There's no bite to EG's attack. And they have allowed right now, right this second, SK to slip back to the site with only a minute left. And they've only taken 1 defensive operator in that process, which is not the best exchange for 2 minutes of time.
Though Pojo is very low on health, watching through the hatch from below. Also, Jarvis is joining, or Cold rather, my apologies. I'm so used to seeing Jarvis on the Valkyrie, with Houghton playing that role instead. BC using these breach charges very well to open lines of sight up, and then accompanied by the Lion's gadget. And it will once again prompt SK to stop. And Mint is right now holding a powerful position. He'll take out Young, but Necrox will take Pojo down. That wasn't very much left of that smoke, so Necrox only needed 1 bullet to dispatch Pojo. But will still leave an advantage in favor of EG. Hot and Cold will have to now fight for his life underneath that hatch. Mint also watching the hatch, so they're expecting an EG drop here. First set of Candelas will go off, and this is a great play from Canadian as the final one goes down, but it looks like he doesn't see. He'll take out 1, Nyx gets 1, Hot and Cold, Mint gets the other, and it's all up to Canadian, who dropped and missed the Valkyrie from below. He works his way into sight, goes for the plant, but Mint is there, and that's 3 unanswered rounds. And very close to a position, Michael, where SK could at least draw if they just need 2 more rounds out of the remaining possible 7.
Yeah, and right now that means SK can go back to customs, and they are going to do just that, trying to avoid tellers as much as possible. In that last round, there were a couple things to talk about. Again, and this has been a theme throughout the map, the inefficiency of Evil Genius's attack, and the clear, I guess, misunderstanding, miscommunication, whatever the case be, mistiming, you know, EG are being very slow. They need to they need to apply more pressure. They need to go faster, because you cannot take 2 minutes to drone out the top floor, clear it, get the single kill, and then expect your job when pushing the site to be easy. And you know, granted, they came pretty close. You could argue that if Canadian had been able to get that kill on the player just underneath the server drop, it might have been a different result. But he didn't. And, you know, one little bad accident can cause a round to be a failure.
And they add up, right? And that was the thing is, as the Ying was dropping, Hot and Cold was perfectly situated to be an easy kill. You just need to line him up. His head's right there. It's a one shot. Ying can drop, get that kill, and then push the second, unless Canadian was trying to go for the runaway player from SK, which, I mean, could have possibly been a great thought at the time, but you could have easily gotten 2 for the price of 1. At the same time, you can't pin all of that on Canadian. He was able to take control. He was able to get the Candelas off and then was able to drop, which is more than I think he's expected to do in that position.
Like I said, and I'm sure you would agree, it mostly just comes down to, you know, not Canadian per se, but EG as a whole, taking way too much time on that attack.
Oh, and that's been the story so far, but I mean, it's not just necessarily EG taking all that time, it's also SK forcing them to commit all that much time. It has to go both ways, in my opinion. I think it's been a very good match from SK, and this is the best that they've looked all season because, let's be honest, SK has really had a bad start to this season. Not 0-6 bad, but still in a position where they definitely have a lot of things to work on and improve.
Yeah, well, you're dealing with a lot of rotations of players that can, I mean, that can happen. But they've got themselves clearly situated now, and they're playing against one of the titans, the great titans of North America, Evil Geniuses, and they're going toe-to-toe. In fact, well, I say toe-to-toe. They're winning outright. Canadian first killed around them. Nice angle there onto Houghton. Young doing more of Young things and disabling Nyx's yokai drones. Nyx trying to fight back. This is really dangerous, and he's going to be droned out in that endeavor, so it's likely now he's just trapped himself, but he could potentially fight his way out of this corner. He's just going to have some pretty incredible aim to manage it.
He's got a steady drone on him from Canadian, who's already found 1 victim, is looking for a second. He's trying to, he got 1 member of the family, he's trying to go for the whole set there, but Nyx will drop down. Pojo gets a kill on the BC, and losing your Hibana means that there will be no hard destruction that will be left for Evil Geniuses to use, as we still have half of the round to go.
And it's important to remember this is a customs defense right now from SK, and they have been very successful in delaying the EG push yet again. So, you know, EG playing so, SK forcing them to do so, and not a whole lot of counterplay clearly in the way of EG. They're trying to look for these angles, but SK's not gonna peek unless they need to. So it needs to be forced. The attackers need to get on top of these defenders and apply the pressure, like I've been saying. But they're just going to rotate instead downstairs, realizing that the bomb site has complete vertical coverage from Canadian inside of CCTV, and they can probably get a defuse plant down. Necrox will trade 1 for 1. Nyx as well getting a kill, and Jarvis getting an easy frag onto NVK, who is just walking in front of the Valkyrie, maybe misunderstanding how much control his team actually had.
It's more so once again that EG has to rush. They only have precious seconds left to get in sight, and SK is largely undisturbed. Young gets very close to seeing 1 that's playing inside of the customs downstairs. That's Nyx, will pick up another kill. He is on fire, and he'll go for 2. What a volley! Nyx with 2 very fast kills, being fed information from his team, and just looked like he missed. Couldn't connect on the Lion fully. And SK Gaming now has 4 in a row. Where is this SK Gaming? We have not seen them all season long, and Evil Geniuses look completely flustered right now.
So, Parker, remember in the pre-match where I was talking about how SK totally won this ban phase, and this is totally SK's map, 100%? Remember when I said that?
Yes.
No? Okay. We're just going to get that on the record, make sure. No, but on a serious note, I'm a little baffled right now. I mean, okay, we could argue easily that, in fact, that this is a defense-favored, not necessarily map, but defense-favored for SK. Because the way I'm seeing SK playing isn't necessarily special as to them as a team. The way they're playing is very passive, very slow, and just waiting for the attack to come to them. And that's what SK is known for. That's what they excel at. The question I have in my head right now is why is Evil Geniuses not playing in the manner which counters that fashion of play, which is, again, and I feel like I'm a broken record at this point, just getting on top of the defense, you know, forcing warm bodies on, okay, that sounds a little bit, trying to fight in close engagements, you know, forcing out angles, not just waiting for the defenders to peek into you, because that does not work against SK. If there's any one team I will ever reference for their patience when it comes to angle play, it's SK Gaming. And it's working out great for them here. The question is, will it work out for them on attack? Because we could see a 5-0 here. We could see this go into draw situation, but maybe SK can't win an attack round.
I think the biggest factor right now is the Thermite ban.
I also agree. The Thermite ban has a lot of relevance.
The Thermite ban has basically, this is one of the few maps where Thermite is integral on almost every single site. You know, it's very rare, I think, nowadays to see a map where Thermite is a must-pick all the time. Consulate kind of has that role until you can figure out when the team has to go to the garage and when they don't. Because you don't really need a Thermite on the main floor and the second floor. But on garage, absolutely. On border, you can really use him on every single site. And what Thermite does is he's able to open up those huge walls and put so much external pressure onto the defenders that they can't just sit and wait, which is exactly what they're doing right now. Even if you use all three of those X-Kairos rounds of Hibana, you're still only looking at a very small hole that you need to possibly worry about instead of an entire panel being blown open or two. So I think for EG, that's been a pretty big blow, and it's a smart ban for SK right now.
Yeah, I would say not even just a smart ban. It's definitely a calculated ban as well. I agree. It's probably one of the biggest reasons that EG struggled on that on attack, or have struggled on attack so far. They still have this one last attacking round before the halves switch. But again, they're not going to be able to open up all of those walls. Canadian, nice nade on to Mint. So rotation, Young no longer playing the IQ, but the nades are still true from EG. And we'll see if they're able to make this work without a Thermite. They've got the Hibana at least. So that's one thing in their favor. They also can't have a Zofia, and you talked about it as well. This is interesting because it was EG's ban, but NVK is an exceptional Zofia, and not having him able to play that is kind of odd.
They did the same thing yesterday against C9. Like I said, you know, they were able to take the smoke out of the equation against a team, and then C9 that uses a lot of shields, and then C9 responded by running a composition that they got a lot of mileage out of the fact there was no smoke on the board. X-Kairos will be used to open up one of those archives walls, and it will force SK to have to fall back. They cannot defend that position anymore because there is obviously worry that you will be attacked from that open hole. But there is a Valkyrie camera that has not been spotted just yet, and Jarvis obviously feeding that information to the rest of his team. A rotate goes in from the Maestro of Hot and Cold from CCTV as Young dispatches Pojo, leaving us in a position where EG could possibly steal their first round. They're still going to lose this half, but they can at least try to make something out of it.
Now that this round, if EG manages to win it, would be a huge salvage. It would actually give them a lot more potential and longevity for the the clutch comeback victory. But they've only got 23 seconds to make it happen. So 5v3. Last 20. Diffuser being planted, no stoppage from the SK Gaming side. They have the Maestro, they have the Echo, but neither of them able to deny the plan. NVK gets Jarvis, Canadian's Cotton, and it's all up to Nyx, and he has been on fire, true, but Young will shut him down, and that's going to be the very first round for EG. Now, a very important round as well. If they had lost that, if it had gone to the dreaded 0-5, I think that probably would have been it for them. I don't think they would have been able to get the tie. But now we're looking at tie territory and potentially, however unlikely, a comeback all the way for EG for a victory. And if there's any one team that I'm going to say could do it, I would say it's EG. And especially considering we have that Thermite ban, it could very well happen.
The one thing that SK always has in their back pocket is running that full-blown Dokkaebi, possibly Glaz, possibly Blitz, possibly Lion, possibly Blackbeard composition that we've seen them run before, and it's remarkably successful. It's very, very successful, and they only need one of those potential strats to work to guarantee themselves 1 point and a tie. Keep in mind that of the next 5 rounds, SK only needs 1 to get put on the board and stave off defeat. As you said, if there's any team that can possibly string 5 rounds in a row together, it's Evil Geniuses. But their performance this season doesn't strike me as a team that is capable of doing them, at least not yet. I know that you saw what happened with Min's 6 pick, so I'm going to let you dive right into that one.
So we just witnessed a rotation of the Glaz into an Ashe. Now, there's a couple theories we can run with here. First of all, blanket statement, very interesting decision from SK. My guess is rush strategy. That's my bet. Because you see, and you're right, SK Gaming is really famous for their smoke play. They love to abuse their smoke glass combination. They're good at it. And, you know, they even excel at it compared to other teams. So Evil Geniuses, they see that. They see the Glaz, they see the Dokkaebi, they think to themselves, oh, it's clearly a smoke strategy. That makes a lot of sense. But you rotate your Glaz into an Ashe, and, you know, they're not going to, Evil Geniuses aren't going to be expecting a rush. Now, I say that, and this is not a rush. So, I'm not really 100% sure.
I mean, you say it's not a rush now, but they could take 30 seconds or 40 seconds together.
Delayed rush?
And then all rush in together. I mean,
maybe. Just
because it's not happening yet. I do think that you have to hurry because the defense can get entrenched.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely. They could do a delayed rush. It's not a right off the bat, you know, spawn rush type deal. And that's what I was imagining. Because here's the thing. You rotate a Glaz into an Ashe, and even if you're rushing through smokes, rushing through Candelas, you know, you're going all together, that could be better off, in my opinion, if you just had a Glaz. So I'm not really entirely sure what the thought process is there. You know, Camera's trying to sell us that maybe it was to counteract the Bandit batteries, but there are other ways to make that happen. So I'm just kind of curious. Speaking of Bandit batteries being countered, they have been successfully. SK will start to Habana their way in through this southwest wall, armory wall. That's a good amount of control they have established. They also have, I believe, CCTV well in hand, as much as they're not holding it firm right this minute. Ashe, gonna be useful in getting those Maestro cams. Maybe that was the plan all along. Would make sense.
And Maestro does also somewhat counter a Glaz push because he can see through the smoke, which is important to note for people that very similar to the bulletproof cams. Yeah, Maestro cams can see right through.
That's a pretty advanced meta there for SK to be employing. It looks like it was just an Ashe pick to directly counter the Maestro. You have to imagine EG would expect an AWOL take given the Glaz.
Out on the west balcony, you see the SK Garrison at the moment as they're just all in one particular order. All of the Candelas are going to go up, but the Bandit's going to get very aggressive. Mint will manage to fell Necrox, who was playing as that Bandit. All the Candelas and push from SK will be met by the smoke of Young, and the Valkyrie will rush right out. Canadian a double kill, get traded off by Pojo. He gets very aggressive, but ends up paying for it, but still takes out your Ashe and your Sledge, 2 frag-oriented operators, and put Hot and Cold on next to no health. And now you're faced with a 3v3, but you still have the Dokkaebi available for you. What's left of Hot and Cold is going to creep his way up the stairs. Nick's going for a plant with Pojo there to cover. Is there going to be a pop-up? Yes, NVK and BC are there, and this should be an easy closeout for Evil Geniuses. Nyx will need to clutch against 3. Young will go for a couple shots through the open Hibana hole, but can't connect. BC is there on the potential flank, and Nyx, downed easily, will be able to get the defuse, and Evil Geniuses will string 2 together. They're first on defense, and could the clutch be starting, or could the clutch already be underway?
No, I definitely think the comeback, the clutch is definitely underway here from Evil Geniuses. They again, like I said, they've got what it takes. SK need to secure. I mean, obviously they need to get 2 rounds. That's how they're gonna get the win. But they need to get one sooner rather than later, because the longer this progresses, the longer EG are able to build momentum. You know, we've got 2 teams that are, I think, pretty emotional in the way that they play. SK is calculated, slow, strategic, but they can get swept into the roller coaster that is your momentum and emotion in these matches. Evil Geniuses is the same way. I think, you know, these teams share a lot of similarities in that regard. So, yeah, EG needs to start losing rounds immediately for SK to get this win, or even a draw, potentially. And on the other hand, I think EG Again, they could just keep stringing them together, especially considering the predicament that is attacking without a thermite on border. It is super hard.
It makes for very frustrating play, and as you can see
Attackers
there,
need to
the
locate and
Hibana,
defuse
the way
the
she
bomb.
was used, tried to mimic the thermite, but you just can't do it. You can't open up that much space. And not only is it a set amount of space for you to run through, but it's also area that the defenders can't play in because that much larger space of the wall is gone.
It's like trying to attack on Oregon basement without a Hibana. It's not fun. You just don't want to do it. You know, clubhouse basement without a Hibana. The old one and the new one. You know, there's a lot of sites that you just need either an A or Hibana or B a thermite on in Siege, and border as a map is universally thermite favored, and you can expect to see in the future a lot more teams play the way that SK is playing right now, where they ban thermite out. They play super passive on defense, super passive on defense, and they win. And I mean, the Zofia ban again, I think just reinforces the play style, because Zofia, what is she good at? She's good at finding those lone roamers and isolating them, shutting them down, or even disrupting anchors and nice and easy pushes into them. And you know, that's what I was talking about earlier. So that's how you need to play against this defensive playstyle. Now I say this, and that was SK's, but Evil Geniuses have been playing completely different. The way that they're holding this is actually aggressively, and it's been working out for them. You saw in that previous round, if the Bandit hadn't peeked into the Candelas, there wouldn't have been a downed Ying, and if there hadn't been a downed Ying, the SK Gaming attack wouldn't have been slowed, and the plant would have come down much sooner, and it could have been a much different result. But that allowed Canadian, speaking of Canadian, getting a kill from CCTV on the hot from above. Good job there. In the previous round, that allowed Canadian to get a swift double kill. That's the Ying gone. No Candelas for SK, and that's a lot of disruption they've just lost. I think knowing SK, that loss of utility is going to hurt them a lot.
Yeah, and especially with the way you would use Candelas on this site, it's going to hinder more than anything their push onto the actual site. You know, we've seen SK attempt it on the previous round, the Ying Dokkaebi push in conjunction with one another, and that could be a pretty potent attack, but it got shut down by the smoke last time around. This time, EG is in a position to shut it down yet again with the smoke. Big difference being SK's been robbed of that extra utility. So they're going to have to frag chase a little bit here just because they won't have the tools to be able to push off the defenders on the site.
Well, here comes the phone call. Canadian and the rest of EG all buzzing away. Jarvis is rotated over to storage, and he's trying to put some damage down, but unable, given the spread out nature of the Evil Geniuses defense right now. You could see they're employing what they were seeing from SK previously. Slow. Just wait. No need to rush into the barrels, the angles that SK are attempting to play here. You can see full information as well from EG. That's a default camera that's been left alive by SK. Huge oversight, and it needs to go fixed soon, or this could be an easy EG round.
There's still one situated in bathroom from
Bomb
Evil
located
Geniuses
by
too that they haven't
attackers.
been able to take care of. NVK upstairs, inside of offices looking down, and Young's first smoke will hit that open hole inside of Workshop. This is bad shape for SK at the moment. They will have to begin to push and probably do so all in unison. They haven't really put any attention whatsoever on the bathroom. Nyx will send out a logic bomb, and you've got to think that SK will use this opportunity to sprint in. They'll rotate, waiting to see if that open hole, if they'll just be fed to the Lions. But still, there's one above. It's NVK. He's been down. He'll get picked up. Some fire going in from EG, or from SK, and Nyx will get one kill. Now EG trying to jump into the fray. Young will take out Jarvis, and the sprays right now as Nyx gets another. Remember, SK only needs one round to tie. Canadian takes out Nyx, though, as the plant goes down quite successfully, and SK will now push themselves back in a post-plant situation. They just need to train their barrels at the sites and hope to pick off one member of EG. That'll be Pojo taking out Canadian, and Mint taking out NVK will mean it's just Necrox left, who is far off site. He's upstairs in offices and will need to break out and try to push through lobby, but you can see that Mint is there primed and ready. Jarvis looks down and he'll drop. It'll, of course, alert the member of SK. Mint waiting, time running out. Jarvis sees one, and he'll get the down. Necrox takes out Mint, and it's just Pojo left. Pojo, but situated in a position where if the defuse goes down, he can possibly go for it. Pojo will see, and he'll finish off Necrox. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. SK cannot lose now. They've got the draw firmly in hand.
So the way that I was seeing that round playing out was actually very different to how it just did. I have to give massive props to SK for taking and seizing the initiative, and I always talk about the initiative, it's seeing an opportunity, any opportunity, and just jumping right into it. And that's what SK as a team, as a whole unit, did just now. Because EG had one down player above, and that was the opportunity. That was what they could seize. One down player is 2 players out of commission for a couple seconds. You know, they always talk about a battlefield, tactics, shoot the legs, that forces somebody to mend. And that's exactly what we just witnessed. So that opportunity seized by SK allowed them to push the site, regardless of not having their Candelas, to get that diffuse plan under cover of smoke. And then even after that, they lost so much manpower, they lost so much time, they lost a lot on that push. Their post-plan positioning was about perfect. And they expected the retake to come in force from Evil Geniuses, from above, from the sides, from everywhere. And it certainly did. It actually seemed like a winnable round for EG, even post-plans. But SK played it, honestly, again, they played it perfectly.
Right now, this is SK firing on all cylinders. Speaking of not firing on all cylinders, they're called Necron's Jarvis. So, I mean, that happened.
It's okay.
That happened.
We all make mistakes.
Amidst the frenzy. Jarvis, of course, my greatest friend in the entire world. Nobody else can obviously rival the friendship that we have other than maybe Fabian and I. We are also great friends. But
you guys can't see it, but there's a tear rolling down my cheek right now.
Down mine as well.
No.
So this is SK firing on all cylinders, and Evil Geniuses once again finding themselves not being able to sort out the bans. And their coach Bacon has been one of the most vocal proponents of this ban system, saying that it's bringing a lot of diversity to the game, and it brings in a lot of potential mind games between teams and can completely change the focus of an attack or a defense. But this is now the 2nd game in a row where I would say quite handily Evil Geniuses were defeated in the operator ban phase. I think that it was a mortal blow in a game against Cloud9, which, let's be honest, on paper Evil Geniuses should have won yesterday, but I mean, they didn't lose. They got a draw. But their same situation here. The best that Evil Geniuses can do is walk away with a single point from the draw. Victory is out of their hands at this point. It has eluded them and slipped right through their fingers. So 2 days in a row where I think they might need to go back and do some, I guess, practice on what operators they ban. I'm confused as to why SK, though, is using this EV1D so early in a Candela 2 and then not really following up on any of it. All it really did was push EG off that armory wall.
They didn't drone out CCTV thoroughly enough. They expected someone to be in there, and clearly there was not a defender in CCTV. SK have the control they want, and now they're going to be pushing their way towards armory. Now it's important to keep in mind that this is not a defense of armory, it's a defense of ventilation. Since the armory hold was successful for Evil Geniuses, whereas ventilation we just saw unsuccessful. Those Legion Traps going to dissuade Nyx no longer, and he will push his way into armory. A complete default from EG. They're back in sight. They don't care at all. They don't want to hold that even a little bit longer. Interesting strategy from Evil Geniuses, and I'm not sure if it's going to be the right call, the long run. But they did waste 2 minutes, so good on them, I guess.
Wasted not just 2 minutes, but a lot of utility. Nyx has been making his presence known. He's had a hell of a game so far, and he'll find Necrox and take the castle out of action, as SK has established a lot of control from above.
Yeah, so control for utility and time. The exchange really, I think, in the early game, going to affect this late part of the round quite a lot. When we've only got 1 kill on the board. Of course, Necrox, the castle, so not the most important kill, but still a formidable player. Candela's, oh no, timing! Hot and Cold still manages to win the fight, and the Candela's going to deny any retaliation. The defuse plant is going down inside of B under cover of smoke and Candela both, as well as hard cover of guns, and that's Jarvis onto Young. Hot and Cold still in a great position to deny this rotation, and he will do just that. MVK eliminated after Mint gets Canadian, and that's GG. SK take it. No points for Evil. 3 for SK.
And that's huge for SK Gaming. That'll catapult them up the standings. Not only were they the only team that didn't have a single point, but now they will get a victory, and they will actually have the same amount of wins as Evil Geniuses now, who have started out strong, but I guess seen their, I suppose, their prowess dwindle a little bit. And what a bounce back performance for Nyx, if we can just focus on him for just a second. He had a pretty rough start yesterday. He got dispatched ruthlessly a number of times by Noble. Nobody could seem to contain Yeti, but SK Gaming doing a great job containing evil geniuses, and we will have our first victory of the day, which I think is great to see.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about